Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, an illegal alien killed an employee of DHS, and Democrats are silent. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
It's tax day, and when I was filling out my return last night for my extension, I was furious. I was just mad. I know that since I filed an extension, I'm not technically paying most of it today. I'm paying it off over time. That's how these things go. You pay your quarterlies, but I got to say, I am just mad. I am so mad. I don't think I've ever been this mad when paying my taxes before. And I know that President Trump did some great things. I mean, really, really good things for the economy. Really, really good things on the tax cuts. In fact, here's the press secretary outlining what some of them are.
On the campaign trail in 2024, President Trump looked voters in the eye and promised them he would sign the largest tax cuts in the history of our country. And on Independence Day last year, President Trump and congressional Republicans delivered, passing the largest tax cut in history for working and middle-class Americans, including no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security. They also passed unprecedented tax relief for small businesses, farmers, workers, and families. With tax day officially here, the numbers prove these tax cuts have been nothing short of extraordinary. More than 53 million filers claimed at least one of President Trump's signature new tax cuts. The average refund this filing season is more than $3,400. The Trump administration has issued more refunds and larger refunds than in any year of the history of our country. And I will allow Secretary Bessent to break down the numbers in greater detail. President Trump and Republicans in Congress have always believed that the American people know how to spend their money better than the government does. But what the American people must not forget is that every single Democrat in Congress voted against these tax refunds. The media has largely omitted this fact and other critical details in their stories covering the benefits of the Trump tax cuts. If the Democrats in Congress had gotten their way and blocked President Trump's historic legislation, Americans would have faced the largest tax hike in history, nearly $4 trillion. The average taxpayer would have seen a 22% increase in their tax rates. Democrats in Congress have proven over and over again that they are the affordability frauds who believe the government should keep more of the American people's hard-earned money. This president and Republicans in Congress fundamentally believe that Americans deserve to keep more of their hard-earned paychecks. It's a clear contrast for American families to keep in mind.
She is 100% right about everything that she said. So why am I mad today on tax day? Aside from having to give money to the government, I'm mad because for the second year in a row, Washington State is ranked 45th place for tax competitiveness. 10 years ago, before Democrats took the trifecta in Olympia, according to our friends over at Future 42, we ranked 12th. We went from 12th to 45th. And what do the Democrats complain about all the time? Affordability, 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 right? That's what they say all the time. And yet they make our lives consistently more unaffordable. Well, why was I so mad this year? Because I thought to myself, when I pay my taxes, how much of this money is going to fraud? Fraud that Nick Brown, the Attorney General, won't investigate. Because he says we're being racists. Racists. For calling out, there's a whole bunch of financial inconsistencies here, which were backed up by the Washington State auditor. Billions of dollars unaccounted for. So the Washington State auditor says, there's no fraud. And I say, how do you even know that? But it's worse than that. As Democrats claim, they're all about affordability, affordability, affordability. I say, you are liars. Yesterday, the Seattle City Council approved to send a tax, otherwise known as a levy, to voters for $480 million for the libraries. Now, as I've said for a while now, Our libraries are basically internet cafes for the homeless. They have gotten so bad. Aside from that, their displays are always woke propaganda. I don't need to be funding this, but you have a problem. The Seattle City Charter says we have to fund the libraries. And personally, I think that for $480 million, you could buy every kid in Seattle a Kindle and a free subscription to any book they could ever possibly want and not have to fund this stupidity anymore. I think we need to remake the libraries. But what really bothers me is this is a renewal of a levy from 2019, which was for a lot less money. In 2019, it was for $219 million. Now it's for $480 million? Don't tell me that's because of inflation or anything like that. Let's dig into the numbers here a little bit, shall we? Because I want to see if the same things that jumped out at me jumped out at you, because you're not actually paying for books for kids. This isn't a fund. This isn't a tax for books. It's not even for drag story hours. It's not even for that. Here's what it's actually for. And I am reading from the Seattle Public Library's website about what this is for. Ready? 2026 Library Levy Proposal Components. Hours and access, $218.4 million of the $480 million. Includes continued funding for open hours, continued 5, 6, or 7-day service at all library locations. Okay. Early literacy, multilingual play, and learns for children ages 0 through 5 at 7 locations. Lovely. Very nice. Social service. Oh, wait. Social service referrals. What? Don't social workers work in other places? What are they doing at the libraries? Oh, now I think you're picking up on what I'm putting down. Wait, hang on. Tell me if you haven't figured it out yet. Let's go to the next line item, okay? Security. Funds the security personnel for the libraries. When I was a kid, I don't remember security at the libraries where I grew up. I don't even remember security at the New York City public libraries where I went to school. Security at the libraries. So I opened this up a little bit, did a little bit more digging. Social services, security. Oh, I know what it is. It's to cut down on the theft of the library books, right? That's what it is. People running out with the free books that you just have to scan. No, not that. Oh, we're funding Homeless Inc. This has nothing whatsoever to do with books and learning and reading. It's not even for drag story hour. It's not even that. This is about another way of funding Homeless Inc. with your tax dollars. Because at the libraries, whether you love the libraries or whether you don't like the libraries, and me personally, I've got my issues with the libraries, but when I was a kid, didn't have these hangups, loved the library. Absolutely loved them. But now, the money is not for the books. The money is not for the kids. The money is for Homeless Inc. So they're going to hit you with a property tax increase. And then what's going to happen? Landlords are going to raise the rents on their tenants to cover the property taxes. And people are going to go, my rent is too high. I need rent control. So you can pay for social service referrals and security. That's what this bulk of this money is for. Because that's $218.4 million. So let's say half of that, $109.2 million, is for those two line items. That's $109.2 million we're spending on Homeless Inc. Why is this now the library's responsibility? Why isn't this now something the library has to pay for? Now, what's funny is if you look into what they brag about on their brag sheets, since 2020, Seattle libraries have become spaces where people go for shelter during the day, internet access for essential services, warmth, restrooms, and safety. That includes people experiencing homelessness, people in behavioral or mental health crises. So you're sending the people with the mental health crises into where little Timmy and little Becky are pulling out their library books that they want to bring home with them. Public reporting points to more disruptive behavior incidents, violence and threats, drug use inside and near branches. This is what we're paying for with the levy. Oh, did I mention, when I drive home every day, Kevin, you go a different way than I do. You go north, I go south. When I drive home, oftentimes I'm on Fifth Avenue heading home. And what's on Fifth Avenue when you get to a certain point? The Seattle Downtown Public Library.
The crazy glass one that's kind of odd shapes. And
the one
whatnots.
that looks like glass and girders got thrown up into a giant pile. I'm sure they thought it was lovely when they built it. It is ugly as sin. That building has a homeless shelter in the basement. And every single day when I'm driving home from the studio, the line of people waiting to get in forms right over there. You know what's not there anymore? Used to be some pharmacies across the street. They're not there no more because what happens when you have the homeless people around? They steal things. Well, those shops on the other side of the street, they're closed now, aren't they? So this tax day, and I love that they decide to put these in yesterday. So now, on your ballot, you're going to have this tax to fund homeless, and they're going to say, it's about reading. It's for the kids. Literally, I am reading off their own websites. It has nothing to do with the kids. It has nothing to do with the books. Oh, wait, it does have a little bit to do with the books. Do you remember last time they were discussing this? What did they want the money to pay for? You're going to love this. They wanted the money to pay for it. They didn't want to have library late fees anymore. So they need to cover the late fees. So they need to raise your taxes because people can't be bothered for the $1.45 of that library book they've been holding on to for years. So this is great. Ready for this? Collections. $58.5 million. Includes continued funding for books and materials, fine-free borrowing. Oh, you're losing a lot of books because people go, if I took it out, I don't have to bring it back because there's no fines, there's no nothing, so now I got to go replace the books. So we're still paying for that stupidity. Wait, there's more here. Hang on a second.
Question
Yes,
about
go ahead, sir.
fines at the library.
Yes.
They don't have any sort of legal or they don't have your information where they could send you to a creditor or anything like that, correct?
I don't think they do when you sign up for a library card.
So it's kind of like an honor system sort of thing, right? Because I remember when I was a kid, when I got my first library card and they made a big deal about it and all that stuff, and I did feel like, oh man, I could just come here and get any book I want that's available. That's pretty cool.
Sure.
And that would have been in Winlock Elementary, whatever library was there.
Yeah.
If I took out, I don't know, a Garfield book and never returned it,
Yeah.
they're not going to come after me, right? They can send. I mean, would they call my house back then? I don't even know.
Let me go back in time here. I know that in New York, a lot of kids have this. This one book that I had as a kid. It's the one that I know I need to return, but I know I'm going to get fined for it, but I know I need to return, but I know I'm going to get fined for it. And you go through that cycle in your head, and I eventually brought it back, and I think it cost me $5. I think it cost me a grand
How
total
old
of $5.
were you?
This is when I was a teenager.
Okay, because I was going to say, I mean, again, some people would say, well, if you're there and you're like 12 or something, your parents are probably with you.
Yeah.
But that's, I don't think, not the case, because especially in small towns, you can just walk to the library.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so if I was there and I was 12 and I turned in Garfield and it was 2 years past, they're going to shake me down for $8? I'm a kid. They can't.
I know that they normally said, they gave you that look like, you owe some fines on this. And I know I always paid them. I was a good kid who always paid my fines. It wasn't often.
You were like the Lannisters in Game of Thrones. You always pay your debts.
Sure. Of the show I've never seen? Yeah, absolutely.
But my point is, I think some of that stuff has got to be for people who never returned the book, right?
Yes,
They
but
don't go
now-
after them. They're like, we got to buy that book again.
Right, that's the problem. Now, what's the incentive to ever return them if there's no late fees at all?
I'm saying I don't think there really ever was.
Oh, so that might be different here versus New York, because I know, you know what I got dinged the most for? The videotapes in Chicago. So when I would go visit my grandparents in Chicago, we would always use this as a Blockbuster. And returning those things, that was a thing. Like, we're only in for a week. Oh, and Grandma had it by accident, and then they're after me because I had a card with the Highland Park, Illinois library. That was a thing. So I know other places did it. I don't know how it worked here. My kids barely use the libraries here because they had a pretty good one at school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think mostly, even then, if you wouldn't have returned that movie, they wouldn't have put that like against your credit or something. I don't think it's possible.
So what you're saying is basically like it's not much of a difference. They're just acknowledging the facts of life that people weren't returning these things.
That's what I think. It's like, yes, we want to create rules that we hope that they return this stuff, but we know, wink, wink, if they didn't, they're not really in trouble, but we need to have money.
Well, now here's the interesting thing.
Terrible people that do that.
Right. I always return them, even though I pay my fees, so I funded the library. This here shows that the number they need for that has gone up, way up, by millions of dollars. So how many missing books are we talking about? Whereas beforehand, at least there was some incentive. Now somebody's just going to go, screw it. They'll just buy another book. Or, screw it, it's coming out of my property taxes anyway. Why should I actually pay the fines? Or it's not even worth it. That line item has gone up. Here's something else. They're talking about all these additions to the building. I understand seismic safety. I understand all this. I understand the problems with elevators. I get all this. $10 million, address potential life safety concerns. I'm sorry, what? In the building? And then I dug in a little bit on that. More homeless funding. This isn't for, oh my God, there's a beam that's exposed that might kill little Timmy. No, it's more homeless funding. And then pressure washing and all this added maintenance they have to do. You mean when you allow the riffraff around, you get more riffraff problems? Kevin, I don't know about where you grew up, but the library was always a nice building where I went. It was never a dumpy building.
Yeah, I would say that a lot of the places I grew up in were small towns. Small towns in the 80s and in the 90s. So homelessness wasn't a thing there.
So I grew up in New York where homelessness was a thing wherever you went, right? But still the library was really nice, and you had the one-town bum. It's not like it is now with the fentanyl and everything else everywhere.
I always felt like the library was pretty old, though. There was like stuff that was from like the 60s where the racks were. So everything was like, it was nice enough, but it was always pretty old.
The building was one of the older buildings in town, right? But it had that classic, like, oh, isn't that quaint kind of thing? Isn't that nice? Why are we paying for Homeless Inc. through the library levy? And they're asking for so much more money this time. That means they know people in Seattle are going to go, it's for the children. This is for the homeless. Yes, is there money for books? Sure. Is there money for events? Sure. But I'm looking at a thing which is double, in fact, almost triple what we had last time. And last time, this wasn't part of it. So now they have slipped in the homeless funding to this. And now your property taxes are going to go up because the dum-dums in Seattle are going to vote for this. And guaranteed, if I do a thing against the levy, I will sound like a monster. I will sound like an absolute, you're against the libraries, because nobody read this. It's all in the bill. It took me 2 seconds to pull up the bill and actually read it and say, why is there all this homeless funding in the library funding? This tax day, this is what your library funds are going to. And they're going to vote for it, and it's frustrating as anything. So I have a little homework assignment for you. When you talk to your friends, I just want you to ask them, hey, how do you feel about all that homeless funding in the library? What? The what? I bet you most of them don't even know that a whole bunch of these libraries have the funding. And I'm not mad about the drag story hour or anything else today. I am mad about the fact that if you want funding for the homeless, ask for money for the homeless. Don't sneak it in under this. This is Katie Wilson's big plan to deal with the homeless. Pay for it through property taxes by taxing all of us for more homeless funding. And has homeless funding actually solved anything around here? Has the homeless problem gotten better, gotten worse? You know exactly what the answer is to that question. It's gotten exponentially worse. In fact, it's so bad now that Seattle officials are estimating that less people are coming to town for the World Cup. And who are they blaming? Donald Trump. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show. So the Seattle boosters of the World Cup, according to the Seattle Times, are adjusting the number of people they think are coming to Seattle down, 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 down. And what's slightly entertaining about this is that they're blaming President Trump. What does he have to do with this? Oh, they're saying the people from Canada aren't coming down because they're mad at President Trump. Oh, the people from other countries aren't coming because they're worried about ICE. Maybe they're not coming because, look, if you got multiple places where you can go see the World Cup, do you want to go see, checks notes, Iran versus Egypt in Seattle for Pride Day? Okay. Let's just be real about this for a second. Also, you don't exactly have a good reputation for Seattle right now. You've had 2 decades of mismanagement of this city. The last 10 years have been really rough. Autonomous zones, riots, you name it. Maybe that's discouraging people. Or maybe this headline from just yesterday, the fact that they have removed 5.3 million pounds of waste, 660,000 needles from the streets in preparation for the World Cup, and that's just so far. That they've been getting rid of encampment after encampment after encampment, and they keep coming back and coming back and coming back and coming back. So, do you think it's because of the Canadians less people are coming here? Do you think it's because of ICE less people are coming here? Or because you keep hearing the stories about the rapes, about the murders, about the homeless, about everything else? Every time a friend of mine or a relative of mine who hasn't been to Seattle in ages comes to town, you know what they always say to me? Every time, what the hell happened here? With the graffiti and everything else, it used to be so pretty. They say that to me every time I pick them up from the airport and we're on I-5 and you see what you see on I-5. Because that's their first impression of Seattle, is all the graffiti, where they're going. What the hell happened here? Plus story after story after story of making international headlines about crazy crime stories, prolific offenders getting released, rioters, autonomous zones, you name it. So you really think it's Trump's fault that you're having all these problems, or you think Seattle flushed itself down the toilet? We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Rose in Gig Harbor. Rose, what's up?
Hi, it's about the libraries. And yes, I'm the person who likes to pay when I don't have to. Anyway, because remember Medicaid, and I was paying for my own Medicaid. Nobody else does that. Anyway, at the library, I lost some videos, and I asked how to pay for it. And they said, well, you have to go online, and you have to do this and do that. I said, well, show me how to do it, and I'll pay for it. Said, nah, we'll just mark it off. And I go, no, you won't. Let me pay for it. And they wouldn't let me pay for it. And that's somebody who wanted to pay. And so they do have it set up so you can pay for it. But they also give away $5 worth of copies free to anybody every week. Or you can sit down at a computer and print out anything you want all day long.
Oh, okay. Rose, you're triggering a memory. I forgot about this. When you were a kid at the library I went to, they made you pay per sheet of paper. And not everybody had printers, and if you had to do research, and I remember printing page after page after page, and me having to pay for my homework. I forgot about that.
Well, I had to pay 10 cents in 2020, but then they passed this thing about that stupid virus thing.
COVID?
COVID.
Yes. Yeah. I'm calling it that from now on, Rose. Right? We're calling it the stupid virus thing. I love that. That's great. Yes.
But anyway, I mean, just think about the money. They could even set up their own little homeless things. Like here, I'm in Gig Harbor. I just pulled into a park I've never been in, and there's a couple of campers moving in right next to me. And I'm going, what the hell? They're homeless people. So
Yeah, that sounds about right. In fact, I saw a special on librarians not too long ago where they were talking about how when they dust the book racks now, they're looking for needles, and they have tools they use to look
I
for
bet.
needles, and they're doing it with gloves. Crazy stuff. Rose, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one from Jeff and Kent. Jedi Master Hoffman, when I was growing up, and you had a fine on a library book, you weren't allowed to check out another book until you brought the book back and paid the fine. Right, because from time to time, I remember I didn't have the money, I needed the book, and then I had to go get mom and dad to pay the fine when I was a little kid. So, between Rose's story and between that, this explains why the numbers are going up. And guess what? Books are more expensive. Paper's more expensive. Lots of things are more expensive. But don't talk to me about inflation. Talk to me about the homeless people. You want to pay for homeless people? Pay for the homeless people. Don't sneak it into the library. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Chris in Bonnie Lake. Chris, what's up?
Hey, buddy. So I just found out last week. So everything this explains a lot with you and me. I didn't realize you were Aries also.
Indeed I am, sir. Indeed. That's why I'm an alpha, baby.
Same birthday.
Yeah, thank you.
We were both on the 12th.
Oh, happy birthday to you then, my friend. Happy belated birthday.
So I'm a little older than you. I turned 68, and this is what I wanted to call you about.
Uh-huh.
I'm calling BS on Donald J. Trump's, I'm not taxing Social Security. This is the first year that I had to pay, and this is my first tax thing when I had to add my Social Security that I got last year. I'm still working, but I'm also getting my Social Security. I had to pay $2,800 that I've never had to. Before I added the Social Security in, I was getting $1,630 back.
Now you have to pay?
So, no tax. Yeah, I paid. I had to pay $2,800. Basically, I put it on a card because I'm going to pay it off tonight because I had a zero balance on this card. But it was, and I had a $73 convenience fee for the privilege of paying
for your taxes. I'll tell you what, Chris. Let me do a little digging for you. I know somebody to reach out about this at the Treasury Department. Give me a couple of days to look into this for you. Okay.
I would love that. I mean, luckily I had the money. I've been saving the monthly, my Social Security thing. I just put it in an account.
But a lot of people don't.
So
that's
That's basically a little more than 1 month of what I get. So it's not a horrible, but there's a lot of people that wouldn't have that.
Let me check it out, Chris. Let me check it out. Give me a few days, okay? It takes them a few days to get back to me, okay?
So much.
All right, man. You take care now. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one from Mike at Seattle Central College. Owing a book fine could block graduation or issuance of transcripts. I remember that from college.
Now, I understand that like as part of college or an institution or something like that, but I'm saying the public library.
Well, like the guy just said beforehand. So one of the other texters said they won't let you take out another book till you paid your fines on that one. I remember that from the library.
Now that makes sense.
Right, that makes sense. Right, I had a buddy. He racked up so many. You weren't supposed to have parking fines, right? He racked up so many parking fines on campus.
I know that is. I know someone else that did that.
Huge deal. But this is what he did. He did the math, and he realized it was cheaper for him to get a parking ticket every day than pay for the lot. So they say you can't graduate. So he walks in on the last day or whatever it is before graduation, and they say, wow, you owe like X thousands of dollars in fines. And he goes, yeah, I'm ready to settle up. And they go, that's a lot of money. Why don't we work out a deal? So he got it for even less by doing that over time. Yes, clearly this is a friend of Ari Hoffman's. Up next, my friends, a Department of Homeland Security employee is killed by an illegal alien. And this was just somebody who worked in the office. We'll give you the horrifying details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Okay, we don't do tax advice on this show, but a lot of people heard Chris from Bonnie Lake's call about the tax on the Social Security.
I figured that would happen.
Okay, so what happened is Pam texts us. Now, I don't know if Pam's right or wrong. I don't get Social Security yet, haven't done it, but here's what Pam says. And actually, a few other texters texted this in. They go, yeah, I'm having the same problem Chris is. All right, here's what Pam says. So I hope everybody's listening. Don, hope you're listening. Chris, hope you're listening. Pam says the no tax on Social Security was done on your return by giving those 65 and older an additional deduction on top of the standard deduction. Maybe your caller missed that. It's not Trump's fault if you missed that. So, Chris, I'm not helping you fill out your taxes. Don, I'm not helping you fill out your taxes. I need an accountant to fill out my taxes.
This is not tax advice.
We do not. You want that? You call our friends over at Madrona Financial CPAs. They are more than happy to help you out. Go to madronafinancial.com. You talk to them. But that's what Pam says over on the text line. Switching gears here, I saw this horrible press release, and I'm just going to go right from the press release that I got from the Department of Homeland Security today. Today, the United States Department of Homeland Security announced that Alulukitan Adon Abel, we're just going to call him Abel from now on, a 26-year-old born in the UK who was naturalized by the Biden administration in 2022, brutally murdered DHS employee and public servant Lauren Bullis on April 13th. The individual possesses a prior criminal record that includes convictions for sexual battery, battery against a police officer, obstruction, assault with a deadly weapon, and vandalism. Now he stands accused of murdering Lauren Bullis in a brutal shooting and stabbing while she was walking her dog. What was he doing out of jail? He has also been arrested for the murder of an unidentified woman who he reportedly shot outside a Checkers before randomly shooting a homeless man multiple times outside a Kroger in Brookhaven. Wow, this is really the best and brightest we're bringing to the United States of America under Joe Biden, right? DHS had a nice little write-up on Lauren, said she served multiple roles at DHS. At the Office of the Inspector General, she served as an auditor, in the Office of Audits, as a team leader in the Office of Innovation. In every role she held, Lauren exemplified dedication to the mission. Lauren approached her work with integrity, thoughtfulness, and a commitment to excellence that strengthened our organization and the communities we serve. Beyond her professional accomplishments, Lauren was a bright spot for so many in the DHS community. She brought warmth, kindness, and a genuine sense of care to her colleagues every single day. She's a young girl. She's a young woman, cut down in the prime of life by an illegal alien who never should have been in this country. How many Democrats did you see protesting for her today? She lives in Washington, D.C. How many people did you see protesting for her, supporting her? How many Democrats did you see run to the picket lines to support her? Zero. Nada. Zilch. In an effort to remove murderers like this from our communities, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services announced the creation of a new vetting center on December 5th to enhance screening and vetting of immigration applications with a focus on identifying terrorists, criminal aliens, and other threats to public safety. You know the big obstacle to this? I love how in the movies there's always a big Interpol database. Interpol database. Every criminal in the world is in the Interpol database. You know how many countries don't upload that stuff? The Muslim travel ban, as people called it, was actually on countries that didn't upload their data to immigration, to the U.S., didn't share data. Iraq, Iran, Syria. You know, the real hot spots. So Bob Ferguson sued to stop the Trump administration from doing that, and they were just trying to stop unvetted terrorists from coming to this country. Now, this beautiful young woman is dead because Joe Biden let another illegal alien in the country, and so many people are just going to forget her name until the next one rolls around. Enough. These are the kinds of people that Turd Ferguson wants to keep here in Washington State. It's nauseating. Just absolutely nauseating. Up next, it looks like Dave Chappelle is trying to get back in with the left and apologizing for comments he made, but blaming Republicans? I'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI. Be careful who you choose as your heroes, my friends. How many times do Republicans say we're going to embrace this celebrity because they said something that lines up with us? Oh, they're on our side now. Why are you embracing celebrities anyway? Whenever you disagree with what a celebrity says, you always go, idiot celebrity, just dribble or just throw the ball or just make your movies or whatever. And then when they say something you like, you go, yes, they're with us now. I understand it's lonely as conservatives. We don't have that many celebrities that are fully on our side. But I never really understood the embrace of Dave Chappelle. Me personally, I was never the biggest Chappelle fan. I liked the skits from the Chappelle Show. I liked him in Con Air when he gets run over by that airplane. I liked him in that. But I'm just not a fan of his stand-up. It's just not for me. For me, it takes too long to get to the payoff. That's my problem with Chappelle's stand-up stuff. You remember just a few years ago, Dave Chappelle was the voice of reason on trans insanity. Well, now he's walking all that back. He's walking it all back in an interview with NPR. He's speaking to Michelle Martin on the Newsmakers program and says he didn't really like that Republicans were enjoying all the stuff he was saying.
Well, the presidency is the presidency. If you vote for the person or not, that's your president. This is an authority figure. This is the top law enforcement agent. He's the top, he's the executor of all of America's affairs. And I just have to move my crowd. You can opt out of my crowd. But you shouldn't have to leave America because the president's making the block too hot for you. So and I did resent that the Republican Party ran on transgender jokes. I felt like they were doing a weaponized version of what I was doing. I didn't. It's not what I was doing. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
This is before I learned the phrase "I respectfully decline," and I was on Capitol Hill, and everybody ran up to take pictures with me from every congressional office, and I just take pictures with whoever asked. I didn't ask how they voted, what their voting record is. And everyone at first was like CBC people. And then here comes Lauren Boebert. And she said, "Can I get a picture?" And I'd already taken 40 pictures. I didn't want to say no in front of everybody. But I didn't know the phrase, "I respectfully decline." So I just took the picture. And then she posted a picture before I could even get from there to the show and says something to the effect of, "Just two people that knew that it's just two genders." She instantly weaponized it or politicized it.
Okay. Let's stop for a second here and just look at this for a second. So is he trying to ingratiate himself with the left again? I mean, dude, when somebody came on stage trying to kill you or beat you up or assault you over this, you said, "It's a trans man." I remember all this. I remember all the jokes you made. So you're going to return all the money you made from those Netflix specials? You're going to donate them to some LGBTQ cause or something if you feel so bad about it? You're going to donate that money to the Democrat Party because you feel that bad about it? And I love the NPR lady. Yes. Tell me more, comedian. So thoughtful. Yeah. Be careful who you choose as your heroes. I mean, really, be careful who you choose as your heroes. Because what? Now he's trying to get back in good with the left? Now he's trying to say, the right doesn't speak for me? Just say, "I'm a comedian. This was good material. It was funny. If you're offended by it, I don't care." That should just be how it goes. This is the problem. Like when Zach and I were at America Fest for Turning Point USA, there's a lot of people there who I'm just like, are you guys just here for the photo opportunities or something? We saw one of the Duggars wandering around. One of the Duggars who's got the problems that the Duggars has. And I'm just like, really, dude? He's standing in line to, I think, take a picture with Brandon Tatum or something. Like, that dude's going to go post that on his website. But now, Dave Chappelle trying to backtrack on all this when all he used to do was talk about free speech. What changed? What changed that all of a sudden this is a thing? I was never the biggest Dave Chappelle fan at all. So when the whole big hubbub around him was happening, did I think a couple of his jokes were funny? Sure. But like I said, it's just too much of a pitch. It's a 10-minute story for a 1-minute joke that I don't even think is so funny. It's not my jam, not my favorite thing.
I like him. I think he's funny, but I think what he does is he plays both sides.
Yeah, sure.
Like any smart entertainer would in this climate. And I think that, he kind of goes his own way and then lets either side kind of claim him for their own whenever it seems necessary. And then he always has kind of a way of letting you know that, well, no, I'm not really with them.
Right. Well, that's the thing is what he should have said here was.
I think that's kind of like most people, by the way.
Yeah,
a large
most
part
people
of
go, yes.
Yeah, I'm not
exactly.
super on that side. I'm not super on that side. I'm somewhere in the big middle.
Exactly. But for here to just go, yeah, I didn't like that. Okay, what about all the hate you got that Republicans defended you for from the left?
Not his problem.
I'm saying.
You want to defend him, go right ahead.
Lots more to discuss as the show continues. The library's tax isn't the only one coming your way. Katie Wilson's got more plans for your money on tax day. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, my exclusive interview with the Seattle Public School Superintendent. Yes, they actually let me and young Zach in the building. But before we get to any of that, my friends, it is now your chance to win $2,000 in cold, hard cash. Yes, just the thing you need on tax day. An extra $2,000 would be very, very helpful, I'm sure, to a lot of people. Now, all you have to do is text the word I give you to the number I give you. Don't text your name. Don't text your phone number. Don't text your email address. Just the word itself, and only to the number I give you. Today's word is bonus, as in $2,000 would be a really nice bonus, B-O-N-U-S. Text the word bonus to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. And thank you to our in-house Pink Floyd cover band for showing up again today, especially with the nasty weather out. I saw thunder, I saw lightning, and they still braved the elements to come here and perform for you for 30 seconds while we give away the word. Thank you very much, guys. Do appreciate it. Well, it is tax day. And on tax day, I'm just more and more frustrated every time I pay taxes because I think about where the money is actually going to. And I don't have a lot of good answers, especially locally. So here in Seattle, we have a pretty big homeless problem. I think it's been, 16, 17, 18 years since they declared a homeless emergency with 3,000 people on the streets. Now, after billions of dollars spent, we've got, 30,000 people on the streets of King County? Bang up job, guys. Really well done. So we need a real solution for this. And the Seattle City Council has come up with a new, fantastic solution. I've never heard anything better than this. Never heard anything better than this at all. Are you ready? Here's what it is. They're going to expand shelter capacity. Wow. Wow, really? Because that's been tried and failed many times before, but we're going to do this again. We're going to do this again. What was Seattle Socialist Mayor Katie Wilson's brilliant plan that the city council okayed? Wilson is planning to add 500 new micro shelters. Oh, that's the new word for tiny homes in the city before June. Why before June? For the World Cup. That's why. She's trying to get everything out of sight, out of mind before the World Cup. So you can do all the drugs you want. Just, can you do us a favor and do it inside the tiny home in this place that's nowhere near the stadiums? So that way nobody sees it. So that way everybody thinks Seattle did a fantastic job with the World Cup. The council approved her request for $5 million in funding and expanded authority to increase the number of tiny homes in existing. Wow. Why didn't I think of that? What a brilliant idea. Because housing's the problem, right? Not the drugs, not the mental health issues. Housing, right? We literally had a video that we played for you last week, which was Andrea Suarez going around one of these Lehigh tiny home encampments where she's going around the place, and there's one of these things they use as basically a gas chamber. It's where they get high. It's their hot box right in there. They smoke fentanyl. They smoke whatever they want in there. And when I reached out to Lehigh about this, they basically said, yep, that's what we do. That is what we do. Councilmember Dan Strauss, who, whichever way the wind blows. So when he sees Seattle getting more conservative or less left-leaning, he goes, oh, okay, I was like that the whole time. When he sees it going in a more socialist direction, oh, it was more like that the whole time. He says, we know that we need more funding to get people off the street, so we know that tiny homes work for some people, but not all. Okay. How much money do you need? If I was going to write you a blank check today to solve the homeless crisis in Seattle, what would it take? What would it take? Because here's the little problem. More people keep coming because you've incentivized this. Come to Seattle. We'll give you a place to do your drugs, or we'll give you an apartment to do your drugs, or we'll give you a hotel room to do your drugs. In fact, we'll give you the stuff to do your drugs. In fact, we're going to pay for your grocery bills too and give you a cell phone. You want Medicare? Medicaid? What do you want? What kind of help do you want? We will give it to you. Oh, you got an arrest warrant? No problem. Come right on in. We don't care if it's next to a family which has little kids. No problem at all. He says we need 24/7 case management. We need shelter that meets people's needs for the heavily addicted or have severe mental illness. Oh, great. What services are you providing? Because those tiny homes have hot boxes in them and no services are being provided whatsoever. Do you consider services the people from Reach who go around giving out condoms and socks? Or maybe the ones from the People's Harm Reduction Alliance who go around giving out, crack pipes and foil. Strauss noted significant encampments have been established on the sidewalks in Ballard. Well, let's see. You've only been a council member for 8 years now? You finally figured out that there's homeless encampments in Ballard, the area you represent? Wow. Bravo. Bravo. He says those are things I haven't seen since the pandemic, referencing a couple who built a structure with a chimney, and they need to be addressed quickly. The reporting you did clearly demonstrated the people on the encampment have housing, that the person you talked to has been outreached many times, and the service the city is offering don't meet her needs, or she refuses to accept them. You know that in Washington and King County, you can involuntarily commit somebody. You can. But on the King County website, it says they just refuse to do it. There's a stigma of mental health that's left over from the 1950s and 60s, which is, if we don't like what you're doing, we're just going to have you lobotomized. We're just going to do the awful things they used to do in these places. These places are not like that anymore. They're not. One of the biggest mistakes Ronald Reagan did was actually cutting money for these places, thinking that, it was all the old way rather than reforming these places. And now we've got a mental health crisis on the streets. I mean, no other president fixed it, so I guess you can't blame him entirely, but nobody else fixed this thing. The funding approved by the council will be part of the mayor's $17.5 million plan to roll out more tiny homes. Just warehouse more people. That'll fix it. My wife and I were driving the other day and saw the mess on Jackson and 12th. We happened to be driving by it. I posted a video up on socials. And my wife said to me, because she's a lot sweeter than I am, she said, those are people. Those are people. It's so sad. It's so sad. And I said, and maybe this was cold of me, I said, sorry, I'm out of compassion. I'm just out of compassion. At what point do we say we've tried everything? I'll tell you, I think I have an actual idea to solve the homeless crisis. I really think I do. Here in Washington, stop funding it. We are funding it. We are enabling it. We are incentivizing it by saying, come here. We'll give you whatever you want. Hey, how's this plan working out for you guys so far? Well, let's see. According to Como News, the 35-year-old man was seriously injured in a stabbing on Tuesday evening in Seattle's North Beacon Hill neighborhood, and detectives are still working to determine what led up to the attack. Seattle police said dispatchers received reports at around 5:51 p.m., in daylight, of a stabbing on the 3000 block of Rainier Avenue South near the Mount Baker Transit Station. Officers arrived, found a man suffering from 2 stab wounds to his left leg. Seattle Fire Department medics treated him at the scene and took him in serious but stable condition. Witnesses told police the 2 men chased the victim to an encampment west of the scene. I know exactly which one they're talking about. Before the assault, after the stabbing, a witness loaded the man into a shopping cart and wheeled him to a nearby transit station where a community member called 911. Wow. So glad they had a stolen shopping cart. Otherwise, they might have had to carry him. Well done. Well done, everybody. Oh, I guess the solution is just to clear the homeless encampments, right? According to Como News, Seattle crews moved in to clear a sprawling homeless encampment in West Seattle on Wednesday that has been the scene of violence and drug use since it took hold. Last month, 3 men were badly injured and robbed in an ambush attack as they sat in a tent in a wooded area near Rotary Viewpoint Park. The suspects surprised the victims by spraying a fire extinguisher to draw them outside and beat them with a crowbar, wrench, and the fire extinguisher itself. All 3 had head wounds. 2 ended up with critical injuries. So now we are finally clearing that homeless encampment. Well, everything's going to be A-okay, right? We cleared the homeless encampment. Hey, how's that other homeless encampment we cleared last week doing after Katie Wilson said she wasn't going to clear homeless encampments? According to Como News, just days after the city of Seattle cleared homeless encampments from 3 Beacon Hill parks, tents and campers have already returned, including 3 tents pitched at the base of the monument honoring Filipino national hero Dr. Jose Rizal. The bronze bust is a focal point of Dr. Jose Rizal Park on Seattle's Beacon Hill. Craig Thompson, a volunteer park steward at the park and nearby greenbelt known as the Jungle, said the tents appeared less than 2 days after the city swept 3 nearby encampments. Wow. Bravo. Well done, everybody. Just so well done. Back right away. He said the tents have returned to Lewis Park since the last sweep and that they moved into a green space at Dr. Jose Rizal Park. He also raised concerns about drug availability and said he wants officers assigned to the park, similar to what the city recently launched at Seattle's Magnuson Park. Great. This is just fantastic. Or stop incentivizing it. This is what we do. We incentivize it. Hey, how's that working out for you? Seattle has removed 5.3 million pounds of waste, 660,000 needles from the street before the World Cup. Wow, you guys are really doing a bang-up job. You know what the problem is? The World Cup's going to come to town. It's all going to look spick and span. It's all going to look nice. Everybody's going to go, wow, Seattle ain't the hellscape we thought it was. That Ari Hoffman guy, he's a liar. What happens? Everybody goes back to where they came from. And then, you know what happens? It goes right back to being the you-know-what that Seattle actually is. You remember when Gavin Newsom had the Chinese president coming to town? And then all of a sudden he transformed San Francisco overnight? All of a sudden, all the homeless were gone. Chinese communist flags everywhere. Notice how Seattle does the same thing. So Katie Wilson, who said she was going to be totally different from Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell, is doing the same thing that Bruce Harrell did for the All-Star Game, doing the same thing he did for the Taylor Swift concert. How many other big things have there been that have happened around here where it's just shove them all out of the way? I remember one of the outlets was going around interviewing people in different encampments, and they said, yeah, they told us to come here for a week, and then we can come back next week. That's exactly what's going on. The Seattle Clean City Community Impact Report stated that 5.3 million pounds of waste were removed from the city's right-of-way, being equated to the weight of 530 orca whales. Additionally, the report revealed that 661,105 sharps, which includes needles, syringes, and lancets, were collected and disposed of. Regarding preparation for the World Cup, the report stated that the city's litter abatement program was expanded to include supplemental routes around Lumen Field and high-traffic fan areas. Additionally, we conducted 16 RV remediations and geo-cleans in the immediate stadium area. By the way, I know where they all went. There is an intersection on Lucille and Airport Way. That is where they are all piling up. How do I know that? I drove by it the other day. That's where they all are. The city is preparing for an estimated 750,000 fans visiting the city for the event. Oh, wait, that number's been adjusted down. Right, and the city's blaming Trump for it. Supporters of the World Cup are blaming Trump for that number going down, not the fact that you just had to clean up 660,000 needles off your streets, 5.3 million tons of trash. Holy cow, guys. Are you kidding me with this nonsense? Gee, why don't people want to come here? You think this is going to solve anything? Oh, let's go to King 5. King 5 always gives us the good news, right? King 5 doesn't want to talk about the bad stuff. All right, well, even King 5 is talking about the bad stuff now. A Seattle woman is demanding the city clear a Georgetown homeless encampment after 2 dogs living there mauled her dog and injured his walker. Wait, you want to hear where the attack was? You ready for this? The attack occurred along South Lucille Street. Wait, isn't that where everybody's coming from the stadiums because they're being cleared out of the stadium? Oh, yeah, that's what's happening. Between 7th and 8th Avenue South, where roughly 8 RVs are parked near Georgetown's main commercial strip and the Georgetown playfield. Who called it? So you mean all the problems you pushed from the stadiums are now over in Georgetown? Frank, a 7-year-old American bully, not a bully, but a dog, suffered puncture wounds nearly an inch deep during the attack, resulting in $2,500 veterinary bill. His dog walker suffered a sprained wrist, scratches, and a mild concussion after being pulled to the ground. She has not returned to work. Frank's owner, Sarah Engstrand, said her dog walker was not near the encampment when the two large dogs described by witnesses as possible Dobermans or Rottweilers charged across the street and dragged Frank into the road. She said it was like watching wild animals attack a deer. She says she has not spoken with her dog walker once without breaking into tears. Paul Watterson, a nearby business owner who witnessed the attack from his truck, said he slammed his brakes as the dogs bolted in front of his vehicle before turning on the dog walker and Frank. He said, I braked so hard they ran smack in front of me. They ran right toward the poor lady with the dog and immediately started ripping and tearing. I wish I'd never seen anything like that. Frank underwent emergency surgery, spent his first week home heavily sedated with antibiotics and pain medication. Egstrom and her partner slept on their couch to be close to him. Now recovering at roughly 30 to 40% his normal energy, Frank grows anxious on walks and flinches at the sight of other dogs or people approaching from behind. In the days following the attack, Engstrom's partner, Bryce Alberg, emailed the office of District 1 City Council member Rob Saka. Eric Schmidt, Saka's director of operations, acknowledged the encampment problem in a written response. We recognize this, he said. Wow, you recognize it. Oh, problem solved. That's it. They recognize it, everybody. Problem solved. He said, we're going to be installing a new RV safe lot. Don't walk by the safe lot because it's not going to be safe. Nearly 10 days after the attack, hey, guess what? Animal control still hasn't assigned anybody to the case. Well, it sounds like Katie Wilson's plan is the same as Bruce Harrell's plan, is the same as Jenny Durkin's plan, is the same as Ed Murray's plan. Throw money at it and hope it gets fixed. More shelter. That'll fix everything, right? Look, if you're homeless and living on the street, you have no business taking care of anything else, be it a kid or be it an animal. You have no business doing that whatsoever if you can't take care of yourself. But this is what the plan is. Everything out of sight, out of mind for the World Cup as fast as possible. When we come back, my friends, though everything in Seattle seems like it's not improving, there is one thing that might actually be improving, and that's Seattle Public Schools. I had the chance to sit down with the superintendent today and got some interesting answers from him on some questions. We'll have that interview for you. Up next, you're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I reached out a few months ago to Seattle Public Schools because they hired a new superintendent. I said, as one of the biggest critics of Seattle Public Schools, now's a great time to get a fresh start. We'd love to talk to the new superintendent. This morning, Zach and I went down to the headquarters of Seattle Public Schools. Never been inside the building before. Not sure what would have happened if I had gone previously, but they were very nice. They were very accommodating. And I got to ask the superintendent of Seattle Public Schools what his plan is to fix everything that's going on right now. Give a listen to the interview. So I'm sitting here at the headquarters of the Seattle Public Schools, and I can't remember the last time I was called into the principal's office. So this is actually kind of nice for me, being here with something I initiated because I a little triggered from high school. I wasn't the best behaved kid, I'll say that. I am probably one of the most vocal critics of Seattle Public Schools, but I saw all the stuff you're doing, and I was kind of wowed by it because a lot of the stuff you're doing is the stuff that I've been upset about for a very, very long time. So let's just dive right into it.
Sure.
Where public safety, that's a huge thing from where you came from, what you're doing now. Mm-hmm. You came into the job and you had this terrible tragedy out at Rainier Beach High School. So how are you addressing safety with Seattle Public Schools?
Sure. Well, first of all, good morning. It's really nice to meet you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for talking about probably the most important thing, which is the safety of our children. Sadly, as you all know, the Friday before I became the superintendent, 2 of our children were murdered at a bus stop. It is a tragedy, an unspeakable tragedy, and I hope that it became a clarion call for action from us, from the community, and from the school district writ large. And I think one of the first things we're doing is we're making sure that we have a much better relationship with the police department. We're also trying to make sure that we have a much better relationship with our community, that we have a much better relationship with our children. We've got to do all of those things, but we're also looking at how schools can be safer. Do we have cameras where they need to be? Do we have more things like single points of entry? There's special film that you can have on windows. We're looking at fencing. But really what we're looking at is having better relationships with our children so that we know if things are going to happen, that we can help to protect them. But it's also making sure that everybody is thinking about safety and security. I mean, one of the things that I've been worried about, which is very different, is I'll go to visit some of our schools and they're so open. They're very porous. People from the community could walk right into the schools. That's not acceptable. We have playgrounds that are basically parks. Well, if you have a 5-year-old that's just playing around and it's very easy for somebody to come and get them, that's scary to me, right? I mean, I grew up in New York in the 80s, like that doesn't happen, right? So yeah. I think that as a person that wants deeply to make sure our children and our staff are safe, we're looking at all sorts of different things. As I said, fences, cameras, single points of entry, special film, but then also making sure that and we have our own safety, that they're in the right place at the right time. And we have a very good relationship with the police department and the city so that we're all working together rather than, I think, at odds, which might have been the case before I got here.
I speak from personal experience. I used to volunteer a lot in Seattle Public Schools, and this goes back before I had a radio career. And just like you said, I could walk into any door of any building, bypass the office, and I frequently did because it was just convenient. In my neighborhood, the park, which is for Graham Hill School, is used regularly for baseball practice. We used to use it because the whole community uses the thing. In fact, I did used to coordinate with them.
Good,
I didn't just walk in. I did ask them.
I appreciate that.
The time there was a bloody nose on the thing, we cleaned it up, and I told them, hey, if there's blood, there was nothing bad last night. It was when the coaches got hit in the face with a baseball. But you're right, they are so porous, but it costs a lot of money to do the stuff you're talking about.
It does, but it's also the right thing to do. I mean, we're $100 million in the hole. I make no bones about that. But the good news is that a lot of these things are from a different bucket of money. We have these levies and these bonds, and that allows us to spend money. I mean, if you've noticed, we've built some amazing, beautiful schools. You can do that even when you're $100 million in the hole because those are 2 very different budget lines. And so what we have to do is make sure that the first question is, are our children safe? Are our faculty safe? Are our families safe? And if we have the money to spend, we have to spend it on that. And so, yeah, it is expensive, but our children deserve it, as do our staff.
It's been a contentious issue around here, having the police on campuses. I personally think we should. I grew up in New York also, and we had security guards all the time. The security guards were our friends. That's how we became friends with them. My synagogues around here have tons of security. Is that something you guys are considering?
So I really, really like the police chief here. I think the chief is a really good guy. He actually was a history teacher. He was a school teacher before he became an SRO and before he became the chief. And so he He really understands our schools, and I'm really happy that we've built this strong relationship. At the same time, I don't believe in SROs. And the reason for that is very different than I think what people who are usually anti-SRO are about. An SRO is a legal definition of a permanently placed police officer with the power of arrest and a weapon that's loaded in schools all the time. The reason why I'm not a big fan of that is that, if something happens, like let's say there's a fight, and they, for whatever reason, want to break it up. Okay, great. You're a cop. You want to break it up, whatever. Kid misses the kid and hits the cop by mistake. Well, now everybody's arrested. Everybody's taken down. It becomes this whole thing, and the police officer isn't trained to be with student, isn't trained to do de-escalation processes like educators are. And so the truth is, what happens in the buildings, that should be my responsibility. You don't want to have an employee of some other entity that doesn't actually have to listen to the principal or the teacher. The police officer has to act like a police officer, a really good, well-trained police officer. And I was a principal in New York City, and we had a great relationship with NYPD, but some of the problems were that the school safety was done by NYPD, and if one of their folks was doing something that we didn't want, I couldn't stop that from happening. You know where the police should be? 1 millimeter outside the door. That's where they should be. I want our relationship with the police to be incredibly strong. But where they need to help us, because we can't, is on the corner, at the bus stop, in the street. I'm the superintendent. If I can't keep kids safe in the building, that's on my head. The moment the child walks outside of the building, I hope that our police, our partners, our communities folks, they're there with open arms. And to your point, they can also be the coaches and the tutors, and everybody knows them, and that's amazing. And we need to work better with the police department to create a friendship and to see people as allies rather than antagonistic to each other. But the idea of an SRO, the legal definition of somebody with a weapon and power of arrest in a school that doesn't necessarily have the school training and tier, multi levels of MTSS and all this other stuff, that's not what I would want them to do. The moment that kid walks out onto the bus stop, I can't protect that. I want the police department to be there. I want Metro to be there. So that's my nuance. And so I don't, I think the relationship with the police department has to be acutely strong. But having an SRO is not what I'm looking for. That's on us. What I'm looking for is the moment that kid leaves campus, that's where we want the police.
Gotcha. Because I know that this is all before your time.
Sure.
Disclaimer.
Sure. No,
it's
all good. It's all good.
There were a lot of issues in parking lots with guns and such.
Right.
So what you're talking about, I hear the argument, I hear the point. Switching gears a little bit, the other big thing that you've been talking about, you've been in the news a lot for recently, is cutting spending because you have this budget gap, and for many other reasons. We're in this big, beautiful building right now.
Yeah.
What happens in this building? Because if every school has a principal and a vice principal, what's going on here?
Sure. Well, it's a great question, right? So, hey, Ben, just sell the John Stanford building, get everybody into the schools. Look, I hear it. What happens in this building is a tremendous amount of things. Like 50,000 kids, 9,000 employees, somebody's got to do payroll. Somebody's got to do the budget. Somebody's got to do operations. Somebody's got to, there's so much stuff that happens here, and it's a wonderful place to work, and people work together. I mean, we have an amazing comms team. They're sitting right here. We have a TV station. I mean, there's all sorts of amazing things that happen here. So the issue for me is, are we being efficient with what we're doing, right? And I think a district of this size, I was a superintendent in Lansing. Lansing is about a fifth the size, 11,000 kids, budget about $250 million. And we actually had 3 different admin buildings. It was a problem because going from one building to another to see the head of health or the head of this, I actually love that we have this one big building. The question is, are we using it efficiently? Are we doing the right thing? And so there's a lot of people in this building that absolutely are working super hard and doing it. Now, are there some people in this building that could be in schools? 100%. And that's one of the things that we're talking about. So, we have a lot of our We have, electricians and plumbers and what have you. This is kind of a home base for them. Could we make a place in the north and a place in the south as their home base so that if they're working on schools in the north, they would check in there? Yeah, maybe. I think there's efficiencies all around. But this is a big building. I don't know how beautiful it is, but it is big. I think what we've got is, you have payroll and budget and HR. I mean, how many people do you need to make sure that you're getting the right teachers in the right place? The answer is a lot. You've got to go. So there's a lot of paperwork that's done here. Hopefully it's done on computers. And so there's a lot of really wonderful people that work here. But can we do a better job pushing more people in the schools? Absolutely. For instance, we have the entire curriculum and instruction team. There's a lot of people that work on curriculum. There's a lot of people that are coaches. There are a lot of people that work with different schools. So should they have a place to have their file in a computer? Sure. But they should be spending time in their schools. So, for instance, let's say you're a math coach. You're assigned to 5 schools. Well, that's great. So Monday you're at school 1, Tuesday you're at school 2, but you probably need an office to keep your stuff because you want to have your papers and refer to this, and maybe you have to have meetings. So there's a lot of people that might have desks here but are really in the field, but they're assigned to the headquarters.
There's a lot more to this interview, including the spicier stuff when I ask him about funding DEI and what's his opinion on the initiatives to keep boys out of girls' sports and parental rights. The rest of my interview with the Seattle Super is up next. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It was really nice that the superintendent and I had 10 minutes booked on the schedule, and he gave me 20 instead. So we were able in the second part of our interview with Ben Schuldiner, who's the superintendent of Seattle Public Schools, to ask about funding DEI, to ask about the initiatives that are going on the ballot. Here's part 2 of that interview right now. So, 2-part question, and once again, this isn't you.
No,
this
it's
is
all
before
good.
you.
It's all
I like
good.
to stress that for the audience.
Thank you.
This
Thank
isn't
you.
There were teachers who were suspended for various different reasons,
Sure.
be it behavior, taking kids off campus, or the sexual stuff, whatever the case may be. You recently ordered a lot of people back to work. I couldn't believe there were people still not working.
330.
330.
We're at some kind of work from home.
Okay. So they now have to be back at work. We're not talking about teachers. Are we talking about the HR people? We're talking about that?
I mean, we're mainly talking about people that support teachers, people that support folks. So no, all of our teachers are in classrooms, right? All of our amazing educators are with the kids. But because we're such a big district and we have all these wonderful support folks, think of like a social studies curriculum person. You know, they can write curriculum, they could support folks, and I could understand why that job might have been remote during COVID, during things. And of course, if anybody has medical issues or other reasons why they need to be remote, we're allowing that. But what would be best for that person is for them to be in the schools as much as they can be. And so rather than having their home base be at home, the home base should be at schools. And so there's just a lot of folks that were doing work at home, and I think they were doing good work, but can it be better when it's in a school? Absolutely. So those 330 folks, and just to be clear, a lot of those folks were maybe doing 2 days remote or 3 days remote, and they were going back and forth. And my thought is, well, if they're already doing some days in the office or in the schools, let's make sure that they're in the schools more often. And I think it's also about creating culture, about bringing people together. There's more sharing, there's more work together. But the truth is, the magic of a school district happens in the classroom and in the schools. And the more that we have our wonderful employees there, the better. I mean, I visit at least one school every day, if not more. I've already seen over 80 schools in the time I've been here. I'm planning on seeing all 106 in my first 100 days. That's where I need to be, in the schools, with the teachers, with the kids. And so I wouldn't say sending them back to work. They've always been working, I hope. But the idea of making sure that their home base is a school or their home base is the central office where all the action is, that's really important.
So then how many teachers are currently on suspension or not working?
You know, as the superintendent of a district of 9,000 employees, I don't have that exact number. But, you know, if somebody is on leave because of medical reasons, you know, certainly we want to support them. If they're on because of suspension, my hope is that we're moving that much quicker, right? You know, New York is famous, where I was a principal and a teacher, for their rubber room, right? And so sometimes people languish there for a year, 2 years, and there's even, I think, a documentary about the rubber room. My hope is, if somebody is put out on leave for whatever reason, we have to work much quicker to finish that. If they did something wrong and they need to be removed, great. Well, not great, but we got to do our job. And if they did nothing wrong, get them back in with the kids. But what we can't do is have a system that takes so much time. And I want to give a big, shout out to the HR department, where I think in the last 2 months that I've been here, I've seen a real alacrity, a real kind of, like, we sit down and we go, okay, what are we doing with this? What are we doing with this? And so my hope is, if somebody's on leave, we finish up. If it's an investigation or it's something else, finish it up, come to an amelioration, and let's move. Because the kids don't want somebody at home. The kids want somebody in the classroom.
Sure. We have limited time today. I could talk to you for a couple hours, so I just got a few remaining questions. Of course, you saved the fun stuff for the end.
Sure.
So the diversity, equity, and inclusion. It seems like around the schools where you have kids walking out in support of terrorist organizations or against the government or this, that, and the other thing, it seems like the kids have only gotten divided. The curriculum itself was originally created by somebody who writes very divisive stuff, anti-Israel, anti-Jewish, anti a lot of other things, anti anything she doesn't like. Is that something that's being looked at, especially when you spend so much money on people who are teaching just that subject, and it's taking away from other material in the classroom?
Yeah, so for instance, over the next couple of weeks, the board is going to be voting on a English language curriculum for K-5. We're spending hours and hours, hundreds of hours, making sure to vet that in a really wonderful and appropriate way for the board to feel very confident to make their decision. That's going to be the curriculum for years to come. That's what all curriculum needs to go through. And one of the things that I witness in this district is we actually are one of the best urban districts in America. When you look at our proficiency rates, be it English or math, we're really one of the highest in the country. But where we're not doing a good job is serving our students of colors, serving our multi-language learners, serving our free and reduced lunch kids. When you look at those numbers, there's a wide gap. My question is, if that's true, then what have we been doing for these last 20, 30 years? And so all curriculum needs to be looked at is it serving our children? And we also have policies in place. What I've found as just in a cabinet meeting for the last 3 hours, and we were uncovering lots of policies that were, let's say, on the books, but weren't being followed. So, we have special kinds of schools that are allowed to deviate from certain things, not about curriculum, about like timing and stuff like that. And they haven't submitted the paperwork in like a decade. So we need to just assess. So the stuff that you talked about, the individual people, I don't know, you said they're not here or whatever the curriculum is, but my hope is we're doing a look at all of our curriculum. Maybe it's the hard stuff, the political stuff, but it also needs to be like third grade math. Is the third grade math that the teachers are teaching the appropriate and approved curriculum? And if it's not, well, why not? So not to uncover some things that I think these teachers are doing really well in spite of the district, but I will say it. There's this curriculum called UFly, which is out of the University of Florida. It's really good kind of science of reading stuff. That's not our approved curriculum. Our approved curriculum is something called CCC. I walk into classrooms, I see them doing UFly. I'm glad they're doing it because it's really good. But the question is, has it been approved? Have we figured it out? And I think what you're uncovering, from the lens that you're talking about, maybe the political stuff or anti-Semitic stuff or whatever it is part of a larger concern, which is stuff being vetted? Is stuff being approved? And my answer is probably not. And so that's why we need to look at that, over the next however many months and years. And my real hope is when the board does decide about the ELA curriculum, that will give us real entree and real leverage to say, look, this is our curriculum. It's a great curriculum. If you're not teaching this curriculum, we probably have to have a conversation as to why. Now, maybe you're this amazing teacher, and we've got to approve a way to go differently, but you got to show it to us. Because right now, the board has said, here's the curriculum, and I'm the superintendent. My job is to follow board directive. We got to do that. So, yeah.
Well, I appreciate it, and I know we're running out of time. No. So just the last one before we let you go is that there are 2 initiatives currently on the ballot. And one is about parental rights, and one is about keeping boys out of girls' lockers and girls' spaces. Mm-hmm. And I know that basically you guys have to do what the superintendent does. But when it comes to these issues, how do you feel about what the school should do?
Look, I think that the rights of parents are really important. One of the things that I've tried to do since I got here actually is had these community meetings. We've had 8. We've had over, I think, probably 2,000 people come to them. I mean, it's been amazing. And the voice of the parent is really important. Plus, there are Supreme Court cases that have now really kind of trumpeted the idea of what, the voice of families should be. But at the same time, there's also state law, and there's also curriculum that's being passed. And I think that, certainly during COVID and really a little bit before that, there seems to be this growing antagonism between families and school districts. And that's a big mistake. I think we need to work together. And so, my belief is let's figure out where the state lines are, where the district lines are, and where the parents are. And I'm sure we can come to a really wonderful thing. But my feeling is, we want to support our children. We want to support our families. And I also try not to break the law because, I don't like jail. So, look, I think the more that we can work together, the more that I can be open and listen to folks. I mean, I can't tell you how powerful it's been having these community meetings where we ask 3 very simple questions. What's going well? What's not going well, and what are some tangible things we need to improve? And what I hear from the families over and over again, they love their teachers, they love their schools. Central office could do some work. And so they want that communication. They want to be heard. That's my job.
Well, I'll just say this, just in closing, is that I have been one of your biggest critics, not yours, but the district's biggest critics. And one of the things we've been doing is uncovering the curriculum. And I will offer is that if you guys want the help, from me, showing the stuff that's been called out, I am more than happy to work with you on fixing these problems, especially if you're taking another view at it.
Sure.
And it may not be the most popular thing, but I'm happy to help with that.
Well, I really appreciate it. I think what can be helpful from you or for anybody is if there's concerns that they have, they should let us know. You know, feel free to email, feel free to show documentation. We have, as you know, lots of people work in this office. And so the more that we get the voice of the community, I want to respect you as a community member, somebody that cares deeply. You said you even volunteered with the school district. That's awesome. So if you can show us what we're doing wrong, I want to hear that. And it'd be nice if you could show us what we're doing right too, because we should probably do that too.
Well, I think the first thing is that you're having these conversations, you're going everywhere, and we really appreciate you taking the time today. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
That was my interview with Ben Schuldiner, who's the superintendent of Seattle Public Schools. What did you think of it? What did you think of his answers? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. You guys have some pretty strong responses to that interview. Some of you are happy that he even took the interview in the first place, given that I have not been the most popular person. And I'm sure that some people today, after hearing that this interview happened, seeing the pictures of it, seeing the video that happened, will lose their minds. People at University of Washington are still mad I interviewed the superintendent over there and are blaming me for everything that happens ever since. It's kind of entertaining. I will say this. When I met him, when I spoke to him, he seems like a genuine guy. I hope this is the first step on a path to better things for Seattle Public Schools. It's a huge mess he has to dig out of from his predecessors and from the board and from everybody else. But he took the meeting. How many other people in our state refuse to even come on the show? How many other people in the state refuse to even comment for the show when we reach out to him? Seattle Public Schools was not our best friend. We're probably its most vocal critic in Washington, if not the U.S. But they took the meeting, and we had the interview with him. I'll also say this. What do you think is going to happen when the far, far left finds out he was in support of having police officers on campus, outside the buildings, in the parking lot, not in the school buildings itself, and he had an interesting reasoning for why? They are going to lose their minds. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, including people losing their minds like Tucker Carlson, full in on Islamic radicals. We'll tell you what's going on up next. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Fox News came to town to ask me about the rise of socialism. We did the interview right among the ruins of the ancient autonomous zone. But before we get to any of that, a lot of you had feedback on my interview with Ben Schuldiner, who is the new superintendent of Seattle Public Schools. Bob in the 509 writes, Ari, simply put, as a former state university professor and the husband of an elementary school teacher, I have no faith in the Washington State public education morass, particularly in urban locales. That being said, kudos to the Seattle superintendent for coming on your show for an interview. He sounds like a good guy. He said a lot of reasonable things, certainly providing some hope. Now let's wait and see if it is just more than the usual Seattle. I can't say the rest of what he said. I'll just put that one out there for a second. Ari, this one, I listened to your interview with the new school superintendent. His answers to your questions offer nothing new. He offers pretty much more of the same. Spend more time studying all the issues to reach a consensus, then spend more of my money to solve problems. So this is basically, I picked these two because this is basically how it goes. Some people say, okay, we have no faith in this actually getting fixed. Some of you are very happy he came on the show. So this is a wait and see kind of thing. Does he make good on the stuff that he said? Let's see how it goes. Personally, I see that he's working on the safety stuff. I actually do see that that's happening. The question is, what's going to happen with the curriculum stuff? I fully intend to send them all the stuff we have exposed in the Seattle Public Schools curriculum and see if it changes in any way, shape, or form. Let's not forget a woman named Tracy Castro Gill, who was fired for being a lunatic. She was too left, even for the Seattle Public Schools. Is one of the people who originally designed the curriculum they're still using right now. So it looks like they're trying to move away from it also, but is it going to actually fix anything? This we will watch with great interest. Meanwhile, something else that's going on is the blockade is officially in place over at the Hormuz Strait. U.S. Central Command published a recording of what it sounds like when you're a ship nearby the blockade.
The U.S. has announced a formal blockade of Iranian ports and coastal areas. This is illegal action. All vessels are advised to immediately return to port if leaving and discontinue transit to Iran if that is your next port of call. Do not attempt to breach the blockade. Vessels will be boarded for interdiction and seizure transiting to or from an Iranian port. Turn around and prepare to be boarded. If you do not comply with this blockade, we will use force. The whole of the United States Navy is ready to force compliance. Now.
I love that. Now, actually, we did get some exclusive video footage, which we are going to play the audio for you, of one ship that was trying to run the blockade and what they ran into.
Captain.
Yes, sir.
Tell them we wish to board at once.
With all due respect, the ambassadors for the Supreme Chancellor wish to board immediately.
Yes, of course. As you know, our blockade is perfectly legal, and we'd be happy to receive the ambassadors.
Sorry, couldn't resist. Kevin's giving me the head shake. I can't believe you're quoting those dumb prequel movies. Sorry, I got kids, and all they do is quote the prequels. So anytime I hear blockade, I think, oh, blockade is perfectly legal. I just think that every single time. Meanwhile, looks like a lot of people have finally turned on Tucker Carlson. Have finally just had enough about it. So this one here from the Washington Examiner, actually before that, let's tell you what he said. So you know that graphic of Donald Trump as Jesus that people got all upset about? Well, this is what Tucker Carlson posted. The people in charge don't want you to know this, but Muslims love Jesus. Islam reveres him as a major prophet and messenger of the Lord, believes he performed miracles, and states that he will return to earth to defeat the Antichrist. That's why Donald Trump's painting depicting him as the Son of God offended the president of Iran. It was an attack on his religion as well as Christianity. Are you kidding me with this? Are you kidding with this? Okay, yes. Islam loves Christianity so much that they have basically purged or persecuted the Christian populations of Lebanon, Gaza, the West Bank, and took over so many other countries. You name it, in that area that used to be Christian. Yeah, how are the Christians doing in Iran right now under the Ayatollah's regime? How are they doing? By the way, this isn't even factually accurate. So, I don't know that much about Christianity because I am Jewish. But I have studied a little bit on it and studied a little bit on Islam. And let me tell you something, that is not how they perceive Jesus at all. Do they have him as a prophet? Yes, but everything about him is inaccurate, even in the wrong time zones. In fact, they say that Virgin Mary was the sister of Aaron, which anybody who's read the Bible knows those are 1,000 years apart. 1,000 years apart, those two stories. What is he talking about? Also, they do everything possible to junk the Old and New Testament in the Quran. So what are you even talking about? No, that is just completely inaccurate. Tucker Carlson has completely lost the plot. In fact, it's so bad that even the Washington Examiner is calling him out. Quote, perhaps the only thing worse than Tucker Carlson's deranged understanding of history is his deranged understanding of theology. They quote what he just wrote, and they said the Iranian regime's top fanboy recently tweeted that, noting that this is why President Donald Trump's meme depicting him as a son of God offended the president of Iran. Indeed, Jesus is a prophet of Islam. In the Hadith, Muhammad promises that when Jesus returns, he will break the cross and establish Islam as the sole faith of the world. The Iranian president loves a Jesus that not only doesn't exist in Christianity, but promises to destroy it. This seems like some useful context. That's a theological position. Shia extremists in Iran aren't the only people who reject a messianic Jesus, after all. But if the Iranian rulers have such high esteem for Jesus, why is conversion or proselytizing of Christianity punishable by death? Numerous fatwas issued by Iranian clerics, including one from the recently retired Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, imposed the death penalty on any males and life imprisonment on women who reject Islam. Preaching the Gospels is considered a deviant educational activity in Carlson's beloved Iran. And because Christianity is gaining popularity underground, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard regularly raids the homes and churches, often arbitrarily, arresting and sometimes torturing their prey. In 2023, the regime imprisoned 96 Christians, 22 of them getting 43-year sentences apiece. All of them were convicted for theological crimes. One wonders if the Armenian and the Assyrian Christians of Iran are more offended by the offensive memes from American leaders than by life in an Iranian prison. The Islamic Republic isn't unique in its view. Afghanistan, Malaysia, Pakistan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Algeria, Egypt, Jordan, Kuwait, Oman, Sudan, and many others maintain legal penalties for proselytization and conversion. In most Islamic nations, importing Christian Bibles, for instance, is illegal and comes with severe restrictions. Some Islamic nations don't carry out these laws with regularity of Iran. Others regularly commit atrocities. Though, to be fair, Islamists are running out of infidels to persecute. The Islamic world expelled around 850,000 Jews from their ancestral homes in the years after 1948. At that time, probably about 15% of the Middle East remained Christian. That number is now somewhere under 2%. Time out, by the way, because we know how much our friend Tucker Carlson loves the Jews for a second. Do you know where Christians are allowed to worship freely, just like any other religion? Oh, that's right, Israel. Continuing on, and the population would have been even lower if Christians were allowed to flee. Most Christians do not live in the ritzy oil sheikdoms Carlson hangs out in, but in places Christians have lived for millennia. There were over 1 million Christians in Iraq under Saddam Hussein. There are approximately 150,000 of them left in 2024. Minority groups are often safest under secular strongmen who hinder the impulses of Islamists. Christians made up around 78% of the Lebanese population in 1910. They are less than 33% today. In Syria, once a bastion of the faith, somewhere over 1 million Christians have fled in a recent decade, a decline of 85%. In the birthplace of Jesus, where Christians were once around 85% of the population, they have been replaced by Palestinian Muslims. Today, they are around 10%. Those who remain in the Islamic world are in constant peril. People like the Copts, whose presence predates Islamic colonialism, are regularly subjected to violence and discrimination in Egypt. In countries such as Nigeria and the Congo, Christians are massacred by Islamists who, Carlson assures us, love Jesus. Strange bedfellows we have here, where Tucker Carlson, who used to claim to be a right-winger, is now shilling for the Islamists. Oh, I guess he's far right now, or is it just he's completely saying the same kind of things Hassan Piker says, who's a full-on Democrat. This isn't the weirdest thing, by the way. Ilhan Omar did an interview the other day on Pod Save America, and she says that her new best friend is Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh, not just that. She also thinks we should give a hug to Candace Owens. Give a listen.
What's your reaction to seeing comments like that from Marjorie Taylor Greene, someone who's not always been, I think, as collegial to you as she should have been? And how do you think Democrats should respond? Like, do you work with these kind of disaffected MAGA voices? Do we build a bigger tent to try to win in November? How are you thinking about it?
Well, I mean, just to answer the latter part of your question, I think as Americans, it is really important for us to work together for the preservation of everything that is good in our country, and to support leaders that we can trust to safeguard what is good about our country. And I believe the thing that has been very fascinating, especially about Marjorie and Candace, is that they are not just coming out like the other ones that you'd mentioned, where they're saying this action is wrong, right? They're saying, I am done with you.
Yeah, it's like a values-based, like
right.
This guy is bad, not like this policy is bad.
Right, and I think that we should give them credit for that, the fact that they've had this wake-up call to finally seeing this con man, this corrupt, chaotic man for what he is. The fact that they understand that he never really had any principles outside of uplifting his ego. They finally understand that his run for the presidency has never really been about America or keeping with the traditions of what it means to be a president of the United States and moving this country forward. It was always about how do I enrich myself. It was always about a grievance politics, where he was upset that Obama was mocking him. It was all about these other things. It was never about putting America first. It was never about having coherent policies. This is a man who said, I have a concept of a healthcare plan, over and over again.
10 years ago.
Right. That he's got like a binder full of, he's never been somebody who says something and you can take it to the bank. Yeah. He's never been somebody who has an ideology that could be understood. He calls himself a religious person, but cannot quote a single verse in the Bible. So the fact that they have gotten off the sycophant train and are saying, we trusted the wrong person. We are sorry for that, and we need all of you to wake up to the fact that you've also trusted the wrong person, I think is an important thing for us to put our arms around and say, yes, then now let's figure out how do we save our country from the disaster that this man is creating.
So let me make sure I got this right. You now have Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Candace Owens, all on the same page as Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar, the most anti-American member of Congress. Maybe Rashida Tlaib Bates her. Okay, second most anti-American member of Congress. And Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Candace Owens are all friends with her? My friends, today's example of horseshoe theory. But I will say is that Tucker Carlson has left the right. Marjorie Taylor Greene has left the right. Candace Owens is a grifter and was never on either side. It's just where can she get the clicks from? And she found out she can get them by bashing Jews and by going after Erica Kirk. That wasn't all Ilhan Omar had to say. In fact, apparently her and Marjorie Taylor Greene had a really friendly exchange as Marjorie Taylor Greene was leaving Congress as a member for the last time.
I haven't called her, but I did before she left. I found her on the House floor and thanked her for, her support in ending the genocide, her willingness to speak up about what the people in Gaza have experienced and what our tax dollars have allowed to take place as we all worked really hard to say that we have a responsibility to end this genocide and to end our financial and political support for Israel and the impunity that we have constantly provided for them as they have tried to destroy a group of people.
Oh, so was it like, oh, give me a hug, girlfriend. We both hate America. We both hate the Jews. That is who Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Marjorie Taylor Greene are now lining up with. Ilhan Omar. This is sick. This is truly sick. This is truly twisted. Robin Lakewood says Ilhan Omar wants control of Marjorie Taylor Greene's Jewish space laser. Okay, Rob, let me explain this again. They don't get the space laser. She just found out we have the space. Oh, wait, not supposed to talk about the space laser. In fact, I think it's my night to operate the space laser, my friend. I'm not going to say who we're going to use it on. Up next, my friends, speaking of Erica Kirk, she had to cancel an event last night because of the amount of threats that she got. Completely crazy. J.D. Vance has some awesome audio calling out the people who did it. We'll have that for you when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, Kevin and I are going to be out at the Washington State Spring Fair on Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. If it's not a busy news day, I'll stick around till 1 if I can. If it is a busy news day, I got to get back here and prep the show. But you now have a chance to win 4 tickets so you can bring the whole family out to the Washington State Spring Fair. So there's rides, animals, food, free exhibits, scones, motorsports, and new fair spaces all in one iconic location. We're going to be out there for Military Appreciation Friday, which means free admission for all active, reserve, and retired military, disabled veterans, and their dependents when each shows a valid military ID at any fair gate. The fair is running this weekend, April 17th through 19th, and to enter to win these fantabulous prizes, head on over to kvi.com right now and enter your information, and you might be the lucky winner of 4 tickets to go to the Washington State Spring Fair. And if you win today, hey, who knows? You might be able to come see me and Kevin on Friday when we were out there. Yesterday, there was an event which was supposed to be featuring Erica Kirk and J.D. Vance at the University of Georgia. Erica Kirk posted shortly before the event, "I was so looking forward to tonight's event at the University of Georgia with our Vice President, J.D. Vance, but after all our family has been through, I take my security team's recommendations extremely seriously. Thank you to our amazing Georgia chapter for your support. God bless you." Now, you think to yourself, if you're sitting next to the Vice President of the United States, you're probably okay. So what's the concern here? According to Mary Margaret Olahan from the Daily Wire, regarding the threats to Erica Kirk that prevented her from attending today's event with the Vice President, a Turning Point USA official tells me that their security had been monitoring the situation in the days leading up to today's events. People were doxing her travel location and trying to track her arrival and departure. And there were multiple direct threats against Erica specifically. This ultimately led to her security's assessment that they couldn't guarantee her safety. Quote, "The event venue itself was fine, especially once the VP was on site, but it was the travel portion that was of chief concern." The officials told the Real Daily Wire, "Her children are one parent away from being orphans, and so we take security's assessments and advice seriously." That's messed up. That is really messed up. People targeting a widow, that is messed up. I mean, Candace Owens, she just does this all day long. She keeps saying they have people watching Erica Kirk in their building and spying on her and encouraging people to do this. I wonder if it was just Candace Owens. Well, J.D. Vance took the stage last night, and he came right out against the people who are going after Erica Kirk.
Think about that moment and where she was so broken. And any of you know who anybody who's grieved before is you kind of go from just crestfallen and sad, and then you want to remember the person that you just lost, and there's just this constant flood of emotions, right? At one moment you're laughing about something they said 2 years ago, and at another moment you're sobbing because they're not there anymore. And I thought about that moment a lot because Erica told me, and that was the first time she'd ever told me this, and I guess I thought about it a lot in the context of our own, my wife's pregnancy. She said, "I really wish that we had had more babies together." And that kind of hit me like, it's just it, he's gone. That was sort of one of the moments where I realized Charlie's not coming back here. And you have this mom who's really sad about the fact that her 2 little kids may never have memories. I mean, you think about as a father, I know most of you out there are too young to have kids, but one of the things that you think about as a father is, I want my kids to remember this moment, right? I want my 6-year-old to remember when I took him to the zoo, or my 6-year-old son was just baptized on Easter Sunday, and I want him to remember that moment with me, and thank you. But so Erica's struggling with this, and of course that's terrible, unspeakable. Most of us could not even put ourselves in her shoes, while at the same time, she's trying to make sure that Charlie's legacy doesn't die. And in that context, everybody is attacking her over everything, and they're lying about her, and it's one of the most disgraceful things that I've ever seen in public life. And I've seen a lot of crazy stuff in my life as a political leader, and I will tell you that the people who tell you, I was there with her, I was holding her hand. My wife was hugging her while we loaded Charlie's body onto Air Force Two and said the Lord's Prayer. The people telling you that Erica wasn't grieving her husband are full of shit, and we need to be honest about that fact.
Yeah, it's crazy that this is where we are, whether it's out of jealousy or who knows what, that Candace Owens has completely broken her mind, that she keeps going after Erica Kirk. Now, mind you, J.D. Vance is in an interesting place. You have a bunch of college kids, and the question is, are they souring on Trump? Because the youngins really liked him in the last election. J.D. Vance gave a really good response almost to that question that he got last night.
Nice. That a lot of young voters don't love the policy that we have in the Middle East. Okay, I understand that. I also know that we've secured the border. We've lowered housing prices now for 8 months in a row, and there's going to be more to come beyond that. We've made America energy dominant, which has lowered electricity costs and things like that. We've made it so that we have the lowest murder rate in 127 years. I'm not saying you have to agree with me on every issue. I'm not saying you have to agree with me on every issue. What I'm saying is don't get disengaged because you disagree with the administration on one topic. Get more involved. Make your voice heard even more. That's how we ultimately take the country back. It's not by you, if you get 5 things you want and 1 thing you don't want. I see way too many people, especially in sort of the online conservative, Twitter sphere, who say, there's no point. No. Because, or let me give you another example, the SAVE Act, okay? A lot of people want the SAVE Act. I want the SAVE Act. I've been fighting for the SAVE Act literally since day one of the administration. And I've seen a lot of people saying, what the hell's the point of voting for these guys if, you've got 3 Republicans.
So here's the thing about that I don't want to hear about the SAVE Act. But here's the thing. He's right. Have you ever found a politician you 100% agreed with? Come on, even the diehard Trumpers out there. You guys don't agree with him 100% of the time. You don't. We disagree with him. We disagree with him. We say, here are the things we disagree with. But look at the other side. They're absolute lunatics. Complete lunatics on the other side. So what he's doing is he's talking to the kids who are in that room, who a lot of them are not very big on the war with Iran right now. And they're saying, don't give up the fight just because you disagree with this one thing. Look at all the other amazing stuff you are doing. Now, from the 360, they say on the text line, Ari, JD's SmackDown isn't much different than me singing in the shower. The people making threats weren't in the audience, just pleasing the base instead of going after bad people. Yes, more words and no action, unfortunately. Well, I think the problem is that the problem with online chatter regarding death threats, and unfortunately, I've had a little experience with this. They don't say, I'm going to be here at such and such a time, waiting for a person at such and such a time. So even Candace Owens' craziness, which she's spewing, for all we know, that was the threat, where she said, I have people in her building, and I have people here, and I have people there, and they're all going to watch her. Do you know she actually accused people surrounding Charlie Kirk of being cyborgs and told people they should stab them to make sure they're real people, including Erica Kirk? That is something Candace Owens said. Actually said. Sometimes it's just online crazy, and sometimes it's actual crazies. And the problem is you don't always know which way it's coming out. You just don't.
Is that, really how you test to see if someone's a cyborg? You stab them?
We've seen Terminator. I don't think the knife does much good on the T-800, right?
Usually it's an exoskeleton covered in flesh. In fact, I think she's got it wrong. A cyborg is half man, half machine or whatever, and you could visibly see the machine part.
Yeah.
So she is talking, like you're saying, about a T-1000 or whatever, whichever that model is. I can't remember that, but the exoskeleton covered in real flesh.
Yes, exactly.
If you stabbed him,
you're not going to know nothing. Nah, you're just not. Hey, what about those haunted dead pirates from the Caribbean? You stab them and they just pull that. It may have been a ghost.
Just pile on another dumb thing that she's saying.
Exactly. I think she just saw Terminator this week. So whenever she sees a movie, like the week that she said Charlie Kirk went to the school for the gifted, a special school, the gifted with people with mutant powers, tell me you watched X-Men that week for the first time without telling me you watched X-Men.
Hey, look, the only cyborg I know is a superhero, a part of the Justice League team. So, I mean, if she's surrounding herself with cyborgs.
There you go. Or Cyborg Superman. He was a bad guy.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That's the problem. Speaking of bad guys, by the way, the rise of socialism here in Seattle. Fox News was out here interviewing me just a couple weeks ago, and it premiered on Fox just the other night. We're going to tell you about the discussion and where I had the discussion, which was half the fun when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, we are having our giveaway over at KVI.com for a 4-pack of tickets to go to the Washington State Spring Fair. And on Friday, you get to see me and Kevin out there for Military Appreciation Friday. So come on out to the fair. Have a scone. Have some roasted corn. It's awesome. I love the fair. It's great. So, and the Spring Fair, it's as fun as the Fall Fair. So make sure you come on out for it. I love it. It's fantastic. I'd actually never been to the Spring Fair before, so this was a lot of fun for me. Over the summer, I got a call from somebody at Fox News, and they said, Ari, we'd like to interview you. We want to talk about, it's been 6 years since the autonomous zone. We want to do a retrospective. I said, that sounds like a lot of fun. And they said, do you think it would be okay if you took a day and you showed us around the autonomous zone? I said, I'd be more than happy to give you a tour of the ancient ruins of the autonomous zone in Capitol Hill. Remember when the Antifa lunatics took over 6 blocks of Seattle, and there were 6 people shot, rapes, robberies, murders, you name it. Everything was bad in the autonomous zone. Had warlords giving out AR-15s out of the trunk of his Tesla. So a few weeks ago, Fox News came to town. We met over in Capitol Hill. And I said to them, did you bring security with you? And, beforehand, I said, you guys got to make sure you bring security with you. And they said, is it that bad? And I said, well, if you plan on having gear in the car, you need it for the gear for sure, because it's Seattle and you never know what's going to happen to your car, especially in Capitol Hill. But number 2, there may be nothing there that day, but you never know when that's the day that Seattle Public Schools or Bellevue Public Schools or whoever it is, the kids decide to walk out and do a protest in the park for Hamas or who knows what, anti-ICE. Who knows what's going on that day? You never know what Capitol Hill could be like, especially Cal Anderson Park. So we spent a few minutes going around the autonomous zone. I spent about half an hour with them showing them the autonomous zone. And what's funny is afterwards, after I told all these stories, and I realized that when I tell these stories, I kind of sound like the crazy person. Like, nobody believes it. It's too insane, the stuff that happened. So I tried to tone it down a little bit, left some stuff out. And the security guards who were with us, I said afterwards, all right, guys, what do you think? Did I paint an accurate picture of it? Was it too much? What do you think? They go, if anything, you didn't go far enough. And I said, were you guys here at the time? And they said, oh, yeah. And they said it was even crazier than he's making it sound, pointing at me. Now, after we were done with that, Fox News set me up. And they want to do a retrospective on have things gotten better or have things gotten worse. And don't forget, we just got Katie Wilson into office. So clearly things are not getting better. So Fox News used the second part of that, not the Autonomous Zone tour, which is coming out later, but they used the second part of that to talk about the rise of socialism. And they actually did a special on the rise of socialism. First part was, of course, about Zoran Mamdani. And the second part was about what's going on in Seattle. Now, we did talk about Shama Sawant, and that's going to be in another part of it, because I know all of you in Seattle are like, she is not the first socialist we've had to deal with. There have been many others. They interviewed me. They interviewed some business owners. They interviewed the head of the Seattle Police Officers Guild. They even interviewed Sean Scott, the socialist, and he said all the quiet parts out loud. I'm going to play for you a little part of this clip, just the beginning of it. We'll play little clips of it throughout the week, but this is the beginning of the special, which is available on foxnews.com right now.
And to all those who opposed my election and are skeptical of my leadership.
Katie Wilson, a first-time candidate with no political background.
I'm very aware that there is anxiety and fear in some circles. Standing up to Trump.
Seattle, where you have a liberal/communist mayor.
I say tough luck.
Does not have any experience.
A new era of leadership. I say this is your city too. As a progressive and as a socialist, I believe in good governance.
The rise of socialism is a concern for me. I think the socialist policies are a threat to public safety.
We've had excess violent crime. We're also spending more than 2 times per officer than Boston, and that's not a difference in pay. That's our overall police budget. So there's a question of whether we're spending our money wisely. I do think that we will need to pursue new progressive revenue in order to fund our priorities and make sure that we're delivering services to the people of Seattle.
My name is Kent Liu. I'm the president of the Seattle Police Officers Guild for the city of Seattle. What we're seeing is increased mandates, increased corporate taxes. I think it's very dangerous to public safety as it threatens budgets. Public safety is about resources, and I need, a large tax base. I think we all do. All departments need a large tax base to fund training, equipment, patrol operations in high crime areas, high traffic areas, And it's really putting a strain on things already.
The mayor, Katie Wilson, the new police chief, Sean Barnes, they want their officers actually reporting ICE activity. So we don't have enough police officers to monitor what's going on safety-wise here in Seattle, but they're using them to monitor ICE agents. My name is Ari Hoffman. I'm a talk radio host here in Seattle. You saw the signs earlier, the signs on the streets that say, oh, ICE can't stage in this park. Well, there was no evidence that they ever were staging in these parks or any Seattle property whatsoever. Wilson actually used so much money from the transportation budget for those signs that now they have to postpone transportation projects.
It's this federal feud that the mayor's office is having with the federal government. The current city's policy on us investigating ICE is very confusing for officers. What does investigating mean? What does identifying mean? This is a disastrous policy that is potentially putting officers and federal law enforcement officers pitting against one another. Not just maybe a physical crossfire situation, but also a political crossfire situation. We're hundreds of officers short, and to reclaim that takes a lot of time, so we have to play catch up. These policies are just making this harder and harder to kind of sell this. Now, they claim they're getting all these officers back, but I haven't seen the evidence of that. And instead, what I have seen is more and more officers retiring, more and more officers leaving. And they said, oh, we're going to start relying on cameras to do the policing for us. And now the whole fight is happening over whether or not ICE is actually accessing the data from the flock cameras. So now they're being pressured not to use them.
So one specific strategy that I think we need to do much more of to be effective on this problem of repeat offenders is effective diversion programs.
Okay, let's stop right there for a second. Effective diversion programs. Oh, you repeat offender. How can we divert you into something else? How can we? Oh, did you not get enough hugs as a child? Did daddy not love you enough? Is that why you're a horrific murderer, criminal, whatever the case may be? Diversion programs. You know, I thought maybe we were drifting back on track just a smidgen. Back when a more moderate Seattle City Council was elected, nah. Because I think a lot of the common sense people left. I think a lot of the common sense people left Seattle. I really do. GOP gave up on Seattle. I think a lot of people have given up on Seattle. As I look out the windows, it's a dreary day outside. It's almost like God gave up on Seattle, too. Well, on that bright note, only good news to wrap up the show. Good news headlines put a smile on your face heading into the weekend. It's not the weekend yet. Shows you where my mind's at. It's only Wednesday, heading into your evening commute. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And if there's a story involving cocaine-fueled wildlife, we're going to talk about it. Have you heard about the cocaine hippos? This was new to me. Apparently, this has been a thing for years. After 2 years of failed attempts at relocation and sterilization, according to Scientific American, Colombia's government has decided it will euthanize 80 of at least 169 cocaine hippos that were once owned by notorious drug trafficker Pablo Escobar. The decision is triggering divided reactions among scientists and activists. Okay, activists, why don't you take the hippo into your house, right? Why don't you do that? Colombia's environment minister, Irene Velez, said, without this action, it's impossible to control them. Citing estimates that the population could reach at least 500 individuals. Individuals? You mean animals? By 2030, affecting our ecosystems and native species. It is our responsibility to take this action. See, all the activists always think it's like Colors of the Wind. It's Pocahontas. And all the animals just get along well with each other. Hippos are violent creatures. They will kill you if you try to pet them. Escobar illegally introduced 4 hippos to one of his estates in Colombia in 1981. After his capture and death in 1993, the animals escaped and began reproducing in the wild, where they became a highly threatening invasive predator to native species.
Talk about inbreeding. Jeez. 4 of them?
4.
These got to be like some sort of mutant ones.
Well,
man.
now there's a few hundred. I mean, dude, think about how long it's been since then. 1981 to now.
It's wild.
Right? I would guess it's about 45 years, just because I happen to know offhand how many years it's been since 1981. Just a guess. Just a guess off the top of my head. 45 years. I'm surprised there's not more of them. Really, just think about the rate everything else. There should be more of them. So they're worried about this. Anywho, the animal's large size also alters river systems, pollutes the water with waste, depleting its oxygen, overloading it with nutrients. This can kill fish and plants and affect communities that depend on these waterways. Hippos have also caused traffic accidents and attacked people in boats over the years.
This is because of 4 of these things
4.
in 48 years is what you...
Exactly, 45 years.
Oh, sorry.
45 years. Don't give me the extra years there,
That's
my
me.
friend.
48's me.
What are we doing 2 years from now, man?
49's me. What am I talking about?
Dude, what are we doing next year, man?
I don't wanna
what
talk
are we
about it.
Okay, all right. We won't talk about that. Back to the good news of killing hippos. In 2022, the government launched a sterilization program to slow reproduction of the hippos, which can number up to 200. At the same time, officials opened talks with 7 countries, 2 international zoo and aquarium associations to relocate the animals. To date, no country has agreed to take even a single hippo. Oh, man, those are hungry, hungry hippos. According to the Colombian government, which ultimately led its Ministry of Environment to opt for euthanasia. By the way, you know what euthanasia means in this case? Do you know how they do this? It's not like they walk up to him and go, shh, shh, shh. No.
Hey, kids in the car.
Huh? No, I know. That's not what they do. They hire some people to come down and get some trophies. That's
the Trump sons.
Huh?
The Trump sons.
Sure, why not? Let's go.
You got Don down there, Don Jr. trying to get, and Eric trying to get some more trophy heads.
Is that what they do? I didn't know they were.
One
into
of them
that kind
used to
thing.
be a big game hunter.
Were they?
Yeah, sure.
It sounds like Don Jr. That's a Don Jr. kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a bunch of controversy
Wait,
over like some of the
cocaine, hunting. Wait, hang on a second here. Hang on. This sounds right up Don Jr.'s alley right here. Yeah, they call in the pros to get rid of them and bag them. That's how this is going to get solved. So they say that widespread sterilization. Oh, no, wait, let me back up a second here. Widespread sterilization is not a viable option because it is cumbersome, costly, and dangerous. Well, yeah, the animal that don't like to be touched. Hang on, we're going to go in for the little snip. Get a rabbi to do it. We'll give him a circumcision at the same time. Come on. This is great.
I say this all the time. I'm not some sort of animal activist or anything, but man, humans are garbage species. I mean,
Why?
seriously.
Because they're getting in our way?
No, because this idiot drug dealer bought these hippos and this happened.
Yes. So blame the garbage drug dealer.
Who's a garbage human?
We're not garbage humans. In 2023, a study estimated that sterilization or relocation could cost at least $1 million to $2 million just to slow the population growth, enough to make long-term eradication feasible. I have a question. How'd they escape? So is it like nobody's watching the estate? And,
for sure.
And then
right?
like things start falling apart and they get through the fence? Or is it just like Pablo, before he gets caught, he's like, run with the wind, hippos. And he just like frees them. How does that even happen?
There's videos of people that go into some of these drug dealers, like, I don't know, compounds after they've left and they're rotting and all this stuff. And it's, I mean,
crazy stuff.
Mike Tyson's got, I don't know how many rotting mansions out there. No, actual properties. And it's like, if there was any sort of tigers, they're long gone.
Long gone. Tiger King has long since killed those suckers. Or Carol Baskin.
Or I'm just saying they went wherever they went because there ain't no containing that anymore with the way the properties
left.
are.
Yeah. Oh, fun story either way. That's going to about wrap it up for us today, my friends. But fear not, and let me tell you why. Because tomorrow we'll have more chances for you to win fantabulous prizes, including $2,000 in cold hard cash and tickets to the Washington State Fair, plus more insane stories and more exciting guests. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.